Ahoy, fellow sea adventurers. You thought your last fishing trip was impressive? Well, get ready for a massive upgrade. Meet the 20 most advanced warships in the world, where Big Boat doesn't even begin to cover it. These sea giants aren't just for looking impressive in a harbor. They're packing so much firepower, radar technology, and stealth capabilities that they make the Avengers look like they're on a budget. From aircraft carriers that could double as floating cities, to destroyers that seem to have a PhD in making things disappear. Thanks, stealth tech. These warships can do everything except make your morning coffee. Although at this point, we're not ruling it out. These ships aren't just floating metal boxes. They're armed with cutting-edge weapons, jam-packed with sensors, and engineered to sail through the roughest conditions while looking stylish enough to make James Bond jealous. Need to launch missiles, jam enemy signals, or just cruise around flexing? These ships have got you covered. Oh, and don't forget the crew. Each ship has a team of sailors so skilled they probably solve complex algorithms in their sleep. So grab your sea legs, because these warships are ready to sail into the future and leave you wondering how anyone ever thought a canoe was cool. Number 20. Navantia F-100, Álvaro de Bazan class. When it comes to defense, the Spanish Navy's Navantia F-100, also known as the Álvaro de Bazan class, isn't just a warship. It's the overachiever of the fleet. The bad boy doesn't just float around looking pretty. It's packed with cutting-edge tech that makes it as tough as it is sleek. Imagine a Navy ship that could take out an incoming missile, detect submarines, and still have time for a siesta. That's the F-100. First, the F-100 comes with the Aegis combat system, which is basically the Navy equivalent of having a superpower. It can track, identify, and eliminate aerial threats with the precision of a hawk eyeing its prey, but with far fewer feathers involved. It also boasts advanced radar and sensors that make it the ultimate spidey sense for detecting threats, even from under the sea. If a submarine tries to sneak up, the F-100 will spot it like a detective finding clues at a crime scene, only with less magnifying glass and more sonar. Let's not forget its ability to juggle multiple missions at once. Not only is the F-100 designed to fend off aerial attacks, but it can also chase submarines down like a relentless bounty hunter. It's a full-on multitasking marvel. You could almost call it the Swiss Army knife of the sea, if it weren't already busy being a high-tech naval powerhouse. In short, the Navantia F-100 is the kind of ship that could win a battle while making a cappuccino, though thankfully it sticks to more explosive tasks. Number 19. Ticonderoga-class cruiser, CG-52. If warships were superheroes, the Ticonderoga-class cruiser, CG-52, would definitely be the one that never misses a deadline, always has the perfect gadgets, and somehow manages to look cool doing it. Known for its Aegis combat system, this guided missile cruiser is basically the Navy's version of having a supercomputer with a missile launcher attached to it. Seriously, if this ship had a Tinder profile, it'd read, "Fluent in missile defense, airstrike precision, and looking for a mission to dominate." Equipped with advanced air defense capabilities, the Ticonderoga can shoot down missiles like it's playing a high-stakes game of Space Invaders. It can track and neutralize threats from miles away, like an elite security guard who can spot a pickpocket across a crowded mall. It doesn't even break a swear, and with its long-range missile systems, this ship isn't just for close-up combat. It has the range to take out threats before they even know what hit them. You could say it's the Navy's equivalent of a sniper with a PhD in engineering. As for missions, the Ticonderoga class is a seasoned veteran. It's been there, done that, and likely has a few commemorative medals hidden in the crew quarters. From Operation Desert to Operation Iraqi Freedom, it's seen combat and emerged victorious, helping to maintain the security of vital sea lanes and fend off any pesky air or surface threats that dare to disturb the peace. But it's not all about combat. The Ticonderoga class is also a diplomatic ace. Need a floating symbol of American might in a tense situation? The Ticonderoga's your ship. It's like sending a cruise ship to a beach party, except it's armed to the teeth and ready to defend democracy at the drop of a hat. So next time you see one, just remember, it's not just a ship. It's the Navy's superhero with a missile launch button. Number 18. HMS Defender, D-36. If the Royal Navy had a secret weapon, it might just be the HMS Defender, D-36. And not just because it sounds cool, although come on, Defender is basically asking for a cape. This destroyer is like a digital age knight in shining armor, except instead of a sword, it has Aegis combat systems, advanced radar, and a whole arsenal of ways to ruin your day. Let's start with its Aegis combat system, which is basically the ship's brain. It's so smart, it could probably pass a physics exam while fending off incoming missiles, all while making sure nothing sneaks up from under the sea. This system makes the Defender like a hawk, able to track and intercept aerial threats before you've even had time to sip your tea. And, if you thought that was impressive, wait until you see its advanced radar and sensor systems. The Defender's tech can spot submarines like a bloodhound on a mission, only without the slobber and tail wagging. In short, this ship is like the Swiss Army knife of warships, but cooler, louder, and more capable of sinking things. It's versatile, ready to take on air, surface, and submarine threats in one fell swoop. If you're a submarine trying to sneak up on the Defender, well, good luck. It's got anti-submarine warfare covered too, with the radar and sonar systems that make you feel like you're trying to sneak past a security guard who's seen every mission. Remember, it's a destroyer, but with a polite British accent and a very large missile payload. Cheers to that. Impossible movie. And it's not all about defending the UK's shores. The HMS Defender has been deployed on several high-profile missions, from patrolling the Mediterranean to warding off Russia's military ships. It's even gotten involved in freedom of navigation operations in the Black Sea, flexing its muscle and letting everyone know that freedom of movement is non-negotiable. So next time you see this ship gliding majestically through the waters, just remember, it's a destroyer, but with a polite British accent and a huge missile payload. Cheers to that! Number 17. Chungmoo-class destroyer. Meet the Chungmoo-class destroyer, the Republic of Korea Navy's stealthy missile-launching ninja that glides through the waves like it's playing an elaborate game of hide-and-seek. With advanced radar and missile defense systems, this destroyer is the Navy equivalent of having a bodyguard who can spot trouble before you even know it exists, and then promptly neutralize it without breaking a sweat. But what makes the Chungmoo class really stand out is its stealth features. If you thought you were proficient at sneaking into the kitchen for late-night snacks without waking up your roommate, think again. The Chungmoo class can slip past enemy radar like a shadow in the night. If the enemy doesn't even know you're there, how can they stop you? Spoiler, they can't. Armed with long-range precision strike capabilities, this destroyer can take out threats from a distance like an expert marksman with laser focus. Want to send a message to an incoming threat? Just point, click, and boom. No need for awkward confrontations. The Chungmoo class has seen plenty of action in freedom of navigation missions, often operating in sensitive waters to ensure that international laws are respected. Whether it's keeping watch in the East Sea or flexing its muscle in joint military exercises, this ship is the Navy's very own silent but deadly force. So next time you hear the word Chungmoo class, just imagine a stealthy ninja, but with enormous missiles. Number 16. Lafayette-class frigate. The Lafayette-class frigate is like the James Bond of warships, sleek, stealthy, and packed with all the high-tech gadgets needed to get the job done. With its stealthy design, this frigate glides through the waters like a ghost, avoiding radar detection and making it a nightmare for anyone trying to track it. It's the kind of ship that can sneak up on you without you even knowing it's there. Perfect for surprise missions and secretive operations. But don't let its quiet, unassuming exterior fool you. Under the surface, the Lafayette class is an advanced integrated combat system marvel. It combines radar, sensors, and weapons into a seamless network, ensuring that this frigate can handle any threat, from missile attacks to submarine incursions. Need to take out an incoming missile or knock out a surface target? The long-range surface-to-air missiles have got you covered, striking with pinpoint accuracy from a distance. It's like having a sniper on the water, only instead of a rifle, It's a high-tech missile launcher. The Lafayette class has seen action in various multinational missions and operations. It's been deployed in places like the Persian Gulf and Indian Ocean, patrolling critical maritime routes and contributing to peacekeeping efforts in conflict zones. Whether participating in counter-piracy missions or enforcing sanctions, this frigate is always ready to defend France's interests on the high seas. In short, the Lafayette-class frigate is a blend of stealth, power, and precision, making it one of the coolest ships in the French Navy's fleet. Number 15. LCS Independence, LCS-2. The LCS Independence, LCS-2, is like the Navy's version of a multitasking superhero. It's fast, it's stealthy, and it can do literally anything. Okay, maybe not literally, but with its advanced stealth features, it sure gives off that vibe. This littoral combat ship, LCS, sneaks through coastal waters so quietly even the fish probably don't notice it. If you're an enemy trying to spot it on radar, you're in for a rough time. It's got stealth so good it could probably sneak into a surprise party without anyone knowing. But don't be fooled by its stealthiness. The LCS Independence isn't just a ghost in the water, it's also a highly versatile warship. Whether it's battling pirates off the coast of Somalia, taking on drug cartels in the Caribbean, or dealing with potential threats in Asia-Pacific waters, the LCS-2 is there, ready to get the job done. It's the Navy's go-to ship for those close-to-shore operations where bigger ships just can't go. Need to take out a pirate ship? Check. Need to stop a suspicious boat from smuggling contraband? Done. Need to lend a hand during a natural disaster? This ship's got it covered. What makes the LCS Independence even cooler is its modular mission packages. This means it can swap out its equipment and weapons depending on the mission, making it a chameleon on the high seas. One day it's a reconnaissance vessel. The next, it's a missile launching machine. It's like a transformer, but instead of turning into a truck, it turns into whatever the Navy needs it to be. In short, the LCS Independence is like the Swiss Army knife of the sea, stealthy, adaptable, and always ready for whatever mission you throw at it. Just don't expect it to make you coffee, yet. Number 14. INS Vikrant, IAC-1. Meet the INS Vikrant, IAC-1, India's very own aircraft carrier, and quite frankly, the coolest thing to ever sail the high seas. This ship is not just a floating runway for fighter jets. It's a self-made marvel crafted entirely in India. Yep, you heard that right. Indigenous construction. This is the Navy's way of saying, we don't need anyone else to build our super powerful warships. We've got this. Move over, world, India has arrived. The INS Vikrant isn't just about looking pretty, though. Let's be real, it looks really good. With its advanced systems for combat and aircraft operations, it can juggle jets and helicopters with the precision of a seasoned air traffic controller. But, you know, while riding the waves. Whether it's launching multi-role fighters or operating choppers for surveillance, this ship is the ultimate airfield on water. The Vikrant has quite the history, too. It was commissioned into the Indian Navy in 2022, marking a significant milestone for India's naval capabilities. But the journey to get there wasn't exactly a quick one. The construction began back in 2009, and after years of trials, upgrades, and a few "let's not mess this up" moments, the Vikrant finally set sail as a symbol of India's growing maritime power. As for missions, the INS Vikrant has already been involved in training exercises and operational deployments in the Indian Ocean, keeping an eye on everything from regional security to disaster relief. It's a floating fortress with fighter jets on standby, and it's ready to defend India's maritime interests, whether that's taking down a threat or keeping an eye on things in some of the world's busiest shipping lanes. In short, the INS Vikrant is the Navy's ultimate power move. A made-in-India, high-tech, fighter jet launching, helicopter hoisting, bad guy crushing, floating fortress of awesomeness. Number 13. HMAS Canberra L02. The HMAS Canberra L02 is like the Swiss Army knife of the Royal Australian Navy. If that knife could launch helicopters, carry hundreds of troops, and smash through the surf like it was a tank on water. This amphibious assault ship is one of the most advanced vessels in Australia's fleet, and it's designed to do one thing really well: kick off military operations right where the land and sea meet. Whether it's launching amphibious vehicles, transporting troops, or delivering air support, Canberra does it all with style. Launched in 2013 and commissioned in 2014, the HMAS Canberra is Australia's largest and most powerful warship. But don't let its size fool you. It's as agile as it is formidable. With advanced amphibious landing capabilities, this ship can put boots on the ground in the most challenging coastal environments. It's like the Navy's ultimate lifeguard, only instead of a whistle and sunscreen, it's packing military-grade equipment for high-stakes beach landings. What really sets Canberra apart, though, are its vertical takeoff and landing, VTOL aircraft, including the legendary CH-47 Chinook helicopters. These helicopters can take off and land with ease, whether on the ship's deck or in difficult terrain, providing quick response airlift capabilities and logistical support during operations. From disaster relief to full-scale combat missions, Canberra's VTOL air fleet gives it the edge in flexibility and reach. Throughout its service, the HMAS Canberra has been part of a number of high-profile missions, including humanitarian aid operations in the Pacific and multinational training exercises. It played a key role in Operation Resilient, 2019, providing crucial support during the Australian bushfires and delivering much-needed supplies to isolated areas. In short, the HMAS Canberra is not just a ship, it's a force multiplier ready to bring the heat, whether it's delivering troops to the front lines or bringing relief to a disaster zone. It's big, it's powerful, and it's a game-changer in Australia's naval operations. Number 12. Sejong the Great, KDX-3. Sejong the Great, KDX-3. Sounds like a name for a legendary warship, doesn't it? And that's because it is a legendary warship, one of the Republic of Korea Navy's most formidable destroyers. Launched in 2007, this sea beast was designed to make waves, literally and figuratively. First off, let's talk about the name. Sejong the Great is not just a nod to the ancient Korean king, it's also a warning to anyone who dares challenge it. This destroyer is equipped with an Aegis combat system, advanced radar, and surface-to-air missile capabilities. So, if you're thinking of sending your toy boat out to challenge it, well, you'd be better off sending a peace offering instead. The Sejong is essentially a floating fortress. Built to take on the high seas with technology that's so advanced, it might as well have been engineered by aliens. Equipped with radars that can track multiple targets at once, it's like the ship can see the future, or at least know when you're about to get a little too close. Its missile system can turn a stormy day into a catastrophic day for anyone trying to mess with South Korea's waters. As for its missions, the Sejong the Great is no mere showpiece. It's been deployed for a range of duties, from peacekeeping missions to defending maritime security. This ship has more deployments than your average Netflix user has subscriptions, always ready to respond to any maritime threat with its advanced systems and unwavering resolve. In short, Sejong the Great, KDX-3, is the warship equivalent of a high-tech Swiss Army knife. Tough, clever, and ready for action. So next time you see it cruising the waters, maybe just let it have its space. It's got important sea things to do. Number 11. Arihant-class submarine. Meet the Arihant-class submarine, India's very own underwater superhero. Built to operate in complete stealth, this nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, SSBN, is essentially the ocean's version of a ninja, silent, deadly, and difficult to find. The Arihant class made its debut with the Indian Navy in 2016, but it was a long time in the making. This submarine is part of India's strategic defense, and it's the country's first nuclear-powered SSBN. That means, unlike your average boat, the Arihant can stay submerged for as long as it wants, silently patrolling the deep blue sea like a secret agent. Oh, and it's equipped with nuclear missiles, so when it surfaces, which is rare, it's not asking for directions. It's ready for anything. The submarine's construction started in the mid-90s, which makes it a product of decades of hard work, precision engineering, and probably some very intense coffee breaks. The INS Arihant, the first of the class, took a whopping 17 years to build. because who needs a rush when you're creating an underwater fortress? It's like the submarine version of a fine wine. It only got better with time. As for missions, the Arihant class is more than just a fancy ocean toy. It's the backbone of India's nuclear triad, meaning it can launch nuclear missiles from under the sea, staying hidden while doing so. So while you're out here thinking about your weekend plans, the Arihant is probably submerged somewhere, silently ensuring national security. In short, the Arihant-class submarine is India's invisible giant lurking in the ocean, waiting for the moment to strike should anyone ever mess with it. It's the ultimate don't mess with me naval asset, and good luck finding it because once it's underwater, it's like trying to find a needle in an ocean. Number 10. Sankey-class destroyer. Meet the Sankey-class destroyer, the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force's secret weapon that's so stealthy, it might just make you believe in ghosts. If those ghosts were highly advanced, heavily armed, and equipped with a seriously impressive Aegis combat system. First commissioned in the early 2000s, the Sankey class is as elusive as it is deadly, and it's here to prove that the best way to win at sea is to look really, really cool while doing it. Constructed starting in 2003, this destroyer was built with one goal in mind. Let's make a ship that can do literally everything and do it well. It's got multi-role capabilities, meaning it can chase down pirates, protect shipping lanes, and even join in on humanitarian efforts. 1 minute it's defending Japan's waters like a pro. The next, it's offering aid in disaster zones, proving that being tough doesn't mean you can't be kind. The Sankey class also has a stealthy design that keeps it out of sight and out of mind when it needs to be. It's like the James Bond of the sea, sleek, smooth, and nearly impossible to catch unless it wants you to catch it. With the Aegis combat system on board, it's got radar so advanced it could probably predict your next move, and a missile defense system so efficient it might just shoot down your bad ideas. As for missions, the Sankey class is like the Swiss Army knife of warships, always versatile, always ready. Whether it's engaging in peacekeeping operations, participating in joint exercises, or protecting Japan's maritime interests, this destroyer is the ocean's ultimate multitasker. In short, the Sankey-class destroyer is the stealthy, high-tech ship that you'll never see coming. And trust us, you wouldn't want to. It's just that good at being quietly awesome. Number 9. Charles de Gaulle, R91. Meet the Charles de Gaulle, R91, the pride of the French Navy, and a true masterpiece of military might. This isn't just any aircraft carrier. It's a nuclear-powered floating city, with a mission to make sure no one forgets who's in charge on the high seas. Launched in 2001, the Charles de Gaulle is as French as baguettes and berets, but with a lot more firepower and radar. What makes the Charles de Gaulle stand out? Well, for starters, it's powered by nuclear energy. That's right, nuclear, which means it can stay out at sea for longer than you can stay on your diet. It's like a mobile base with endless power, the kind of ship that never says enough when it comes to running cool gadgets and flying really cool planes. This aircraft carrier boasts advanced radar systems so sophisticated they could probably track your misplaced keys, let alone enemy aircraft. The Charles de Gaulle isn't just a big floating platform, it's a launching pad for the French Navy's best toys, including Rafale M fighter jets and the E-2C Hawkeye early warning aircraft. In layman's terms, this ship can turn the skies into a French air show at a moment's notice, while also keeping an eye on everything happening below. As for its missions, the Charles de Gaulle has been to more places than an overachieving tourist. From operations in the Mediterranean to supporting NATO missions, this aircraft carrier has had a starring role in a variety of international tasks, including combat operations and humanitarian aid. It's been busy, probably too busy to even sip a proper espresso. In short, the Charles de Gaulle, R91, is a nuclear-powered, fighter jet-launching, radar-obsessed powerhouse on a mission to keep the French flag flying high, no matter where the wind blows. Plus, it looks really stylish doing it. Vive la France! Number 8. LHD Juan Carlos I. Meet the LHD Juan Carlos I, the Spanish Navy's amphibious assault ship that's basically a floating Swiss Army knife. Whether it's launching tanks onto a beach, transporting troops, or hosting an impromptu party on deck, well, maybe not that last one, this ship is ready for just about anything. Commissioned in 2010, the Juan Carlos I is as versatile as it gets, capable of performing amphibious assaults, humanitarian missions, and probably some very intense game of shuffleboard. Constructed in 2008 and named after Spain's former King Juan Carlos I, this amphibious assault ship is a true multitasker. Imagine a giant floating military base that can deploy landing craft, helicopters, and even F-35 jets. With the ability to launch a full assault on a beach and then just casually transform into a command center or hospital, the Juan Carlos I makes multitasking look easy. It's like Mary Poppins of warships, practical and full of surprises. What sets this ship apart? Well, it's got a massive aircraft lift that can carry everything from helicopters to fighter jets and a dock capacity for landing craft to hit the shore like it's some sort of amphibious red carpet event. Whether you need to drop off tanks, troops, or just some essential snacks, the Juan Carlos I's got you covered. As for missions, this ship has seen it all. It's been deployed for amphibious warfare, NATO exercises, humanitarian relief efforts, and, no doubt, providing the Spanish Navy with way more swagger than a regular ship. From rescue operations to providing disaster relief, the Juan Carlos I is out there doing its thing and making it look like a walk in the park, except with more tanks and fewer picnics. In short, the LHD Juan Carlos I is a floating, amphibious wonderland that can launch a full military operation and still have room for a siesta. Ole! Number 7. INS Vikramaditya. The INS Vikramaditya, India's aircraft carrier that's basically a flying fortress on water, except it doesn't fly, but its jets do. Commissioned in 2013, the Vikramaditya is like the cool older sibling to India's other aircraft carrier, the INS Vikrant. While Vikrant is India's first indigenous carrier and more of a homegrown hero, Vikramaditya is the globetrotter with a little Russian influence, and by influence, we mean actual Russian design. The Vikramaditya is a modified Kiev-class carrier. That's right, it was originally a Soviet ship before getting a major makeover. Think of it as the aircraft carrier version of a 1980s convertible car that's been lovingly restored with shiny new parts and high-tech upgrades. She's got advanced aircraft and missile systems that make her a force to be reckoned with. And unlike her sibling Vikrant, which is just learning to spread its wings, Vikramaditya already boasts the ability to operate the Russian MiG-29K jets and India's very own Tejas aircraft. It's like a family reunion where everyone's flying in, whether they're from India or Russia. Since her commissioning, the INS Vikramaditya has been on some pretty high-profile missions. She's participated in naval exercises, humanitarian operations, and been on standby in some of the most strategically important regions. She's like the Indian Navy's jet-laden, missile-carrying Swiss Army knife, ready to jump into action, whether it's defense or disaster relief. In short, while INS Vikrant is India's new homegrown hero, INS Vikramaditya is the seasoned globetrotter with a Russian twist, proving that age and experience plus some powerful jets make for a winning combination on the high seas. Just don't ask her to go easy on the younger sibling. She's got missiles to launch. Number 6. Type 055 Destroyer, Renhai Class. Meet the Type 055 Destroyer, Renhai Class. China's answer to the question, what happens if you combine stealth, power, and a whole lot of missiles into one ship? Launched in 2017, this ship is basically a floating fortress that can track enemy ships, launch missiles, and look really cool while doing it. With its Aegis-like radar, stealthy design, and long-range strike capabilities, the Type 055 could probably give a techie superhero a run for their money if it wasn't too busy owning the high seas. The Type 055 is a next-generation destroyer that brings some serious firepower to China's People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN. Equipped with advanced radar that can detect and track targets from miles away, it's like the ship can see into the future. It's also got powerful missile systems that would make any pirate rethink their life choices. And if that wasn't enough, Its stealth design means it can sneak up on enemies like a ninja, only with more firepower and fewer throwing stars. Since its first commissioning, the Type 055 has been on numerous exercises and patrols, flexing its muscles for both domestic and international operations. While it hasn't been involved in too many high-profile missions yet, it's still early in its career. Its potential is almost as impressive as its radar. Think of it as the new kid in school who hasn't quite settled in, but you know it's coming for the title of class president. In short, the Type 055 destroyer is China's powerhouse on the water, stealthy, powerful, and equipped to strike at a moment's notice. It's like a secret agent with a missile launcher and a whole lot of swagger, ready to make waves in the world's oceans for years to come. Number 5. Kirov-class battlecruiser. When it comes to advanced warships, the Kirov-class battlecruiser stands like a colossal floating fortress with a bad attitude. The Russian Navy's answer to "bigger is better." These battlecruisers are like the Hulk of the seas, but with a slightly more refined wardrobe: red, sleek, menacing lines, and nuclear power. With 4 Kirov-class ships built, each a towering monument of Soviet engineering, this is not your average military vessel. At over 800 feet long, the Kirov class is so large it could probably intimidate the ocean itself. Armed to the teeth with a deadly arsenal of anti-ship and anti-air missiles, it's like bringing a gun to a knife fight. Except your opponent didn't even know a gun could be that big. Its nuclear propulsion means it doesn't need to stop for gas, like ever, making it a force to be reckoned with in long-range naval operations. Yes, this is the ship equivalent of someone who can't be bothered with pit stops at the 7-Eleven. As for its construction, well, think of it like assembling a Lego set, except the pieces are as big as the Empire State Building, and you have to add in an ungodly amount of electronics and weapons systems. It's not just big, it's ridiculously big. And did we mention it's nuclear-powered? So while your car's engine might sputter when you go uphill, the Kirov class just keeps cruising like it's on a Sunday drive through the apocalypse. Has the Kirov class been on any missions? Sure, but not too many. These ships are so advanced that they often end up doing laps around the Arctic Circle, flexing their muscles without ever firing a missile. Because sometimes just looking intimidating is mission enough. Number 4. USS Zumwalt, DDG-1000. The USS Zumwalt, DDG-1000, isn't just a destroyer. It's a floating statement of, "I'm too advanced for you to even understand." With its sleek, futuristic design, this vessel looks like it might just teleport to another galaxy to avoid pesky little things like enemy ships or, actual combat. Launched in 2013, the Zumwalt is like the James Bond of destroyers, smooth, mysterious, and just a little too cool to hang out with the other ships. Forget what you know about military vessels. This one looks more like something from Star Trek than your average naval cruiser. The stealthy design with angular lines and a hull that makes it hard to track is straight out of a sci-fi movie. You'll be lucky if you even spot it on the radar, though it probably won't matter since it has some of the most advanced radar systems around. It's like the ship equivalent of a ninja in a game of hide-and-seek. As for firepower, the Zumwalt packs long-range precision strike capability with its advanced missile systems. But it's so good at its job it may have gotten bored and decided to not really engage in many missions. In fact, it's been on fewer missions than your average cruise ship captain, spending more time being admired in port than, actually blowing stuff up. With integrated power systems that are so advanced they'd make a smartphone jealous, the Zumwalt is, quite frankly, overqualified for the job of destroying ships. It was supposed to usher in a new era of naval warfare, but instead, it seems to have spent most of its time practicing stealth and showing off its cool factor. History? The USS Zumwalt made history by being so ahead of its time that it's not entirely clear what to do with it, except maybe park it and let it look menacing while the rest of the fleet catches up. Number 3. Yamato class. The Yamato-class destroyer, part of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, isn't just a ship, it's a technological wizard on water. Constructed in the 1990s, this class of ships has all the stealth, radar, and firepower to make other destroyers seriously reconsider their life choices. With cutting-edge radar tech and an Aegis combat system that could probably predict your next move before you even make it, this ship is the ultimate chess master of the seas. Let's talk about its stealthy features. The Yamato class is so stealthy, it could sneak into a party, swipe your snack, and leave without you even knowing. With its low radar signature, it essentially vanishes on the battlefield like an aquatic ninja. It's like the ship equivalent of trying to catch a shadow. Good luck. And the radar? It's so advanced it might as well be able to detect your thoughts. Trying to sneak up on this ship is like playing hide-and-seek against a supercomputer that's already hiding in the most ridiculous places. As for missions, well, the Yamato class has been on a few, but not exactly enough to start writing a memoir. These ships were designed for advanced defense roles, patrolling Japan's waters and protecting its maritime interests, but they aren't exactly the sword and shield of naval warfare. You won't see them engaged in full-on pirate-fighting mayhem like in the movies. Instead, they mostly do the quiet, professional work of keeping everything secure. Think of them as the silent bodyguards of the sea. Just because they're not punching anyone in the face doesn't mean they aren't ready for anything. So while the Yamato class might not have the battle scars of legends, it's definitely the quiet, cool, and ridiculously capable ship everyone wants to have on their side. Number 2. HMS Queen Elizabeth, R08. The HMS Queen Elizabeth, R08, is not just a ship. It's the British Navy's answer to the question, what if we could build a floating city that also flies jets? At 920 feet long, this massive aircraft carrier is the largest warship in the Royal Navy and quite possibly the most British ship ever created. If ships could drink tea, Queen Elizabeth would be sipping Earl Grey with her pinky up while managing the world's most sophisticated aerial fleet from her deck. Launched in 2017, the Queen Elizabeth is a marvel of engineering. Constructed with the precision of a Swiss watch, it took about 9 years to build, and we suspect it took a few cups of tea and a couple of biscuits to get through all the paperwork. With the capacity to carry up to 40 aircraft, it's like having a whole airport on the sea, but with fewer queues and way more camouflage. Its advanced radar and communications systems ensure it can find and track enemy aircraft even if they're hiding behind a cloud of confusion, and perhaps some malicious Wi-Fi. As for missions, Queen Elizabeth has been busy, but not in the way you might expect. It's not out there fighting alien invaders or chasing down pirates. No, its role is more diplomatic, showing the flag, protecting British interests, and occasionally making sure the rest of the world knows that the Royal Navy is still around. Still really, really big, and still very much into the whole flying jets off a giant ship thing. So, has Queen Elizabeth been on any major missions? Sure, but mostly it's been showing off how lovely it looks and how much jet fuel it can burn. It's not just a ship, it's an icon of maritime might and maybe a few royal selfies. Number 1. USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN-78. The USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN-78, isn't just an aircraft carrier, it's the Beyoncé of warships. Larger than life, completely iconic and capable of launching jets so fast they could break the sound barrier. If only they didn't have to worry about getting caught in the paperwork. As the first of the Ford-class supercarriers, this nuclear-powered behemoth is so advanced, even the ocean seems intimidated. Launched in 2017, the Ford took nearly 17 years to build. You know how long it takes to build a house? Imagine that house is the size of a small city, and you're building it on water, with the added challenge of making sure it can launch jets while also serving as a floating military base. The ship's construction was so complex, it probably required a couple of engineers, a few magic spells, and an industrial-sized cup of coffee to pull off. The Ford is equipped with a suite of features that make other ships look like they're still using dial-up internet. First, let's talk about its nuclear propulsion. Because why would you ever want to stop for gas when you can sail the 7 seas without worrying about refueling? Then there's the electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMALS. This futuristic tech lets jets launch with such speed and precision that it probably makes the pilots feel like they're being shot out of a cannon, only with more professionalism and less chance of getting wet. As for missions, the USS Gerald R. Ford has been on more missions than a SpaceX rocket. From power projection to disaster relief, this ship has been everywhere, doing everything, and probably looking cooler than anything you'll ever own. It's not just a warship. It's the Navy's version of a Swiss Army knife, capable of anything but too busy being awesome to brag about it. And there you have it, folks. 20 of the most advanced warships in the world, from aircraft carriers that could host their own air shows to destroyers that can probably destroy your Wi-Fi with just a glance. These ships are the epitome of cutting-edge naval technology. They're faster than your morning coffee and more equipped than your phone during a zombie apocalypse. But don't worry, they won't be chasing you down, unless you're a rogue whale with an attitude. Stay tuned for more high-tech, high-seas adventures. Until then, keep your nautical knowledge afloat